Rob Gronkowski going down with the injury. He looked like he was favoring it even when he came back against Miami. So, I mean, obviously the risk was there for him to re-break it, and that's exactly what happened. So, in that situation, how do they determine that he should even be playing in the game? You know what I mean?
That is probably the quintessential sports medicine question from Gronk to RG3 and on down the line. When does the team, the physician, the athlete decide that he is ready or she is ready to come back to play sports? And that's a very complex question because all these kids, as we talk about, are playing with injuries. And you'd like to see on an x-ray the bone healed, but that's going to take months. And Gronk doesn't have that kind of time. So he'll take the risk that maybe doing a less risky thing, like catching a pass, will allow him to get back in a game. But clearly, that bone wasn't fully healed yet, and will probably take, if he didn't re-break it, a few more weeks, if not a month or two, to fully heal in. So he takes the risk, he takes the chance.
In that situation, what can you determine? I mean, what it is, it's going to be a couple different things, right? Did he break another bone in his arm, or like you were just talking about, did the screws pop out in that thing? And what's the likelihood of his injury? Because he has to have surgery again, apparently. So.
Right. More likely than not, the fracture just re-broke, the plates and the screws loosened to some degree, and that would be a good outcome. Worse outcome is he broke it in a different spot, and so the surgery will have to be redone to a bigger magnitude. The upside is it's a relatively easy bone to fix, and now he's got the whole summer to heal, so time now is on his side. So coming back next year, he should be at 100%.
Sarah wanted me to ask you about the Woodhead injury. We really don't know anything about it other than that it was a thumb injury, and Belichick said this morning that he could have come back in and played, but here we go again with another guy that's hurt, but I'm assuming a thumb when you have to carry the football, probably not easy, right?
Not easy at all. So we don't know what that injury is. A very common one is called the gamekeeper thumb, where the thumb gets pulled back and the ligaments get stretched out. Now that makes it very difficult when you're holding on to that ball. So what they're going to have to do is let that calm down, maybe put some medicine inside there, and it's possible he could be taped for next week's game to give that thumb some support. But it wasn't worth the risk to continue in the game as it was. So that was a good call.
Let me ask you about some of the Ravens that have some famous injuries. Ray Lewis, I think, is it a torn tricep that he has?
Right.
Terrell Suggs is playing with one too. How do these guys play with that? Does it depend on the level of the tear?
Absolutely. So it's not a complete tear. They couldn't move their arm, but they're clearly going to be weak out there. So triceps, you're going to push people away. That's a little bit you can get away with. If it's a biceps, when you're trying to wrap them around, pro football player couldn't play with that type of injury. So he's hobbled out there. If you see the way he's playing, he's not pushing a lot of people out of there, but it is good enough to allow him to play. And in his last game, last season, he's going to show up. And that's why we see these amazing injuries with these athletes trying to push through what the average person couldn't possibly push through.